हेलो क्लास 7, कैसे हैं आप? आई होप आप बहुत अच्छे होंगे। तो बेटा यहाँ पे स्टार्ट करने वाले हैं हम लोग 6 चैप्टर की रीडिंग, और ये सारी एनसीईआरटी ऑडियो बुक है जो आपको मेरे चैनल पे ऑलरेडी अवेलेबल है। आप लोगों को अगर आपको रीडिंग का टाइम नहीं है या किसी भी केस में आप नहीं पढ़ पाते हैं, सो दिस विल डेफिनेटली गोना हेल्प यू अलॉट। सो लेट्स स्टार्ट द चैप्टर। वन डे Bujo was eagerly waiting for to meet his grandparents who were coming to town after a year. He was in a real hurry as he wanted to receive them at the bus stop. He ran fast and reached the bus stop in a few minutes. He was breathing rapidly. His grandmother asked him why he was breathing so fast. Bujo told her that he came running all the way, but the question got stuck in his mind. He wondered why running makes a person breathing fast. The answer to Bujo questions lie in understanding why we breathe. Breathing is a part of respiration. Let us learn about respiration. In chapter 2, you have learned that all organisms are made of a small microscopic unit called cell. A cell is the smallest structural and functional unit of an organism. Each cell of an organism performs certain functions such as nutrition, transport, excretion, and reproduction. To perform these functions, the cell needs energy. Even when we are eating, sleeping, or reading, we require energy. Where does this energy comes from? Can you say why your parents insist that you should eat regularly? The food has stored energy which is released during respiration. Therefore, all living organisms respire to get energy from food. During breathing, we breathe in air. You know that air contains oxygen. We breathe out air which is rich in carbon dioxide. The air we breathe is transported to all parts of the body and ultimately to each cell. In the cell, oxygen in the air helps to in the breakdown of the food. And the process of breakdown of food in the cell, which is release of energy, is called cellular respiration. Cellular respiration takes place in the cell of all organisms. In the cell, the food glucose will break down into carbon dioxide and water using oxygen. When breakdown of glucose occurs with the use of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. Food can also be break down without using respiration, without using oxygen. This is called anaerobic respiration. Breakdown of food release energy. Glucose in the presence of oxygen release carbon dioxide, water, and energy. You should know that there are some organisms such as yeast that can survive in the absence of air. They are called anaerobes. They get energy through anaerobic respiration. In the absence of oxygen, glucose break down into alcohol carbon dioxide as given below. Glucose in the absence of oxygen gives alcohol, carbon dioxide, and energy. Yeast are single cell organisms. They respire anaerobically and during this process yield alcohol. They are therefore used to make wine and beer. Our muscles can also respire anaerobically but only for a short time. When there is a temporary deficiency of oxygen during heavy exercise, fast running, cycling, walking for many hours, heavy weightlifting, the demand for energy is high. But the supply of oxygen to produce the energy is limited. Then anaerobic respiration takes place in the muscle cells to fill the demand of energy. Glucose in muscles in the absence of oxygen gives lactic acid and energy. And this all the processes involved in muscles, which occur in muscles only. Have you ever wondered why you get muscle cramps after heavy exercise? The cramps occur when muscle cells respire anaerobically. The partial breakdown of glucose produces lactic acid. The accumulation of lactic acid causes muscle cramps. We get relief from cramp after a hot water bath or a massage. Can you guess why it is so? Hot water bath or massage improves circulation of blood. As a result, the supply of oxygen to the muscle cell increase. The cell increase in the supply of oxygen result in complete breakdown of lactic acid into carbon dioxide and water. Activity 6.1. Caution. Do this activity under the supervision of your teacher. Close your nostril and mouth tightly and look at the watch. What did you feel after some time? How long were you able to keep both of them closed? Note down the time for which you could hold your breath. Figure 6.2. So now you know that you cannot survive for long without breathing. Breathing means taking in air rich in oxygen and gives out of air rich in carbon dioxide with the help of respiratory organ. The taking in of air rich in oxygen into the body is called inhalation, and giving out of air rich in carbon dioxide is known as exhalation. It is continuous process which goes on all the time and throughout the life of an organism. The number of times a person breathes in a minute is termed as breathing rate. During breathing, inhalation and exhalation takes place alternately, as breathing means 1 plus 1 exhalation. Would like to find out breathing rate? Do you do you want to know whether it is constant or it change according to requirement of oxygen by the body? Let us find out why by doing the following activity. Activity 6.2. Generally, we are not aware that we are breathing. However, if you try, you can count your rate of breathing. Breathe in and out normally. Find out how many times you breathe in and out in a minute. Do you inhale the same number of times as you exhale? Now count your breathing rate, number of breathing rate per minute after brisk walk and after running. Record your breathing rate as soon as you finish and also after complete rest. Tabulate your finding and compare your breathing rate under different conditions with those of your classmates. From the above activity, you must have realized that whenever a person needs extra energy, he or she breathes faster. As a result, more oxygen is supplied to our cell. It speeds up the breakdown of food and more energy is released. Does this explain why do we feel hungry after a physical activity? When you feel drowsy, does your breathing rate slow down? Does your body receive sufficient oxygen? On an average, an adult human being at rest breathing in and out 15 to 18 times in a minute. So this is your breathing rate. That is 15 to 18 times in a minute. During having exercise, the breathing rate can be increased up to 25 times per minute. While we exercise, not only do we breathing fast, we also take deep breaths and thus inhale more oxygen. Activity 6.3. Figure 6.3 show the various activity carried out by a person during normal day. Can you say in which activity the rate of breathing will be the slowest and in which it will be the fastest? Assign number of the picture in the order increase rate of breathing according to your experience. How do we breathe? Let us now learn about the mechanism of breathing. Normally, we take in air through our nostril. When we inhale air, it passes through our nostril into the nasal cavity. From the nasal cavity, the air reaches our lungs, though the windpipe. Lungs are present in the chest cavity. This cavity is surrounded by ribs on the sides. A large number of muscular sheets called diaphragm forms a chest cavity. Breathing involves the movement of diaphragm and the rib cage. During inhalation, ribs moves up and outward and diaphragm moves downward. This movement increases space in our chest cavity and air rushes into the lungs. The lungs get filled with air. During exhalation, ribs move down and in while diaphragm moves up it from former position. This reduces the size of the chest cavity and air is pushed out of the lungs. This movement in our body can be felt easily. Take a breathe, keep your palm on the abdomen. Feel the movement of abdomen. What do you find? After having learned that during breathing there are change in the size of the chest cavity, children got involved in the chest expansion and competition. Everyone was boosted that she or he could expand it the maximum. How about this doing this activity in the class with your classmates? Smoking damage lungs. Smoking is also linked to cancer. It must be avoided. So here is the diagram for your breathing. This is your nasal passage. This is your oral cavity. ये मुंह का एरिया है, ये नाक का एरिया है, नेजल पैसेज. ये है बेटा फेरिंग्स, है ना. इसके बाद ये है ट्रैकिया, जहाँ से आपकी हवा आती है. इसके बाद है ये आपके लंग्स, जिन्हें हम फेफड़े भी बोलते हैं. ये है आपकी रिब, जिसे हम पसलियों से बोलते हैं, पसलियां. रिब्स मीन्स पसलियां. ये है आपका डायफ्राम एंड ये है पूरा ह्यूमन रेस्पिरेटरी सिस्टम. The air around us various type of unwanted particles such as smoke, dust, pollen, etc. When we inhale, the particles get trapped in air our present in our nasal cavity. However, sometimes these particles may get passes the air in the nasal cavity. This may irritate the lining of the cavity, as a result of which we sneeze. Sneezing expels though foreign particles from the inhaled air and a dust-free, clean air entered our body. Take care. When you sneeze, you should cover your nose so that the foreign particles you expend are not inhaled by other persons. Activity 6.4. Take a deep breath, measure the size of the chest with a measuring tape, figure 6.6, and record your observation with the table 6.2. Measure the size of the chest again when expanded and indicate which classmates show the maximum expansion of the chest. We can understand the mechanism of breathing by a simple model. Air in drawn in, ribs moves out, and diaphragm moves downward. Diaphragm moves downward, that is called inhalation. This process is called inhalation, in which ribs moves out and diaphragm moves downward. Okay. Now come to activity 6.5. Take a wide plastic bottle, remove the bottom, get a Y-shaped glass or a plastic tube, make a hole in the lid so that the tube may pass through it. To the forked end of the tube, fix two deflected balloons. Introduce the tube into the bottom as shown in figure 6.7. Now cap the bottle. Seal it to make it airtight. To the open base of the bottle, tie a thin rubber or a plastic sheet using a large rubber band. This process expansion in which air ribs moves backward and diaphragm moves back. To understand the expansion of the lungs, pull the rubber sheet from the base downward and watch the balloons. Now next, push the rubber plastic sheet up and observe the balloons. Did you see any changes in the balloons? What do the balloons in this model represent? What does the rubber sheet represent? Now you should be able to explain the mechanism of breathing. What do we breathing out? Activity 6.6. Take a cylinder, clean a test tube or a glass or plastic bottle, make a hole in it and fix it on the bottle. Pour some freshly prepared lime water in the test tube. Insert a plastic straw through the hole in the lid in such a way that it dips in the lime water. Now blow gently through the straw a few times. 6.8. Is there a change in the appearance of the lime water? Can you explain this change on the basis of what you have learned in chapter 5? You are aware that air we inhale or exhale in a mixture of gases. What do we exhale? Do we exhale only carbon dioxide or a mixture of gases along with it? You must have also observed that if you exhale on a mirror, a film of moisture appear on its surface. For where do these droplets come? Breathe for better life. Regular traditional breathing exercise pranayam can increase the capacity of lungs to take in more air. Thus, more air can be supplied to the body cells, resulting in release of more energy. The percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide, the percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide in inhaled and exhaled air. In inhaled air, 21% of oxygen and 0.04% of carbon dioxide is present. In exhaled air, 16.4% of oxygen and 4.4% of carbon dioxide is present. Breathing in other animals, such as elephant, lion, cows, goats, frog, lizard, snake, birds, have lungs in their chest cavity like the human being. How do other organisms breathe? Do they also have lungs like those of human beings? Let's find out. Cockroach. A cockroach has a small opening on the side of its body. Other insects also have similar openings. Buju wants to know if cockroach, snail, fish, earthworm, and ants and mosquito also have lungs. These openings are called spiracles. So in cockroach, respiratory organ is spiracles. Insects have a network of air tube called trachea for gases exchange. Oxygen rich in air rushes through its spiracle into the tracheal tube, diffuse into the body tissues and reach every cell of the body. Similarly, carbon dioxide from the cell goes into the tracheal tube and moves out through spiracles. These air tubes or trachea are found only in insects and not in any other group of animals. Earthworm. Recall the chapter 6 of class 6 that earthworm can breathe through their skin. The skin of an earthworm feels moist and slimy on touching. Gases can easily pass through them. So frogs have a pair of lungs like human beings. They can also breathe through their skin, which is moist and slippery. Buju has been in television program that whales and dolphins come up to the water surface. They can even release a fountain of water sometimes while moving upward. Why do they do so? Underwater. Can we breathe and survive in water? There are many organisms which live in water. How they breathe underwater? You have studied in class 6 that gills in fish help them to use oxygen dissolved in water. Gills are projections of their skin. You may wonder how gills help in breathing. Gills are well supplied with blood vessels for exchange of gases. Do plant also respire? Like other living organisms, plant also respire for their survival, as you have learned in class 6. They also take in oxygen from the air and gives out carbon dioxide. In the cell, oxygen is used to break down glucose into carbon dioxide and water in other organisms. In plant, part can independently take in oxygen from the air and gives out carbon dioxide. You have already learned in chapter 1 that leaves of the plants have tiny pores called stomata for exchange of gas and carbon dioxide. Baheli wants to know whether a root which are underground also take in oxygen. If so, how? Like all other living organism of the plant, the root cell also need oxygen to generate energy. Root take up air from the air space present between the soil particles. Figure 6.11. So these are soil particles and these are root here and these are air space between the soil particles. Can you guess what would happen if a plotted plant is overwatered? In this chapter, you will learn that respiration is a vital biological process. All organisms need to respire to get the energy needed for their survival. Now come to the last part of the chapter, that is summary. Respiration is essential for the survival of living organisms. It releases energy for the food. The oxygen we inhale is used to break down of glucose into carbon dioxide in water. Energy is released in this process. The breakdown of glucose occur in the cell of an organism, that is called cellular respiration. If the food is broken down with the use of oxygen, it is called aerobic respiration. If the breakdown occurs without the use of oxygen, the respiration is called anaerobic respiration. During heavy exercise, when the supply of oxygen to our muscle cells is insufficient, the food's breakdown is by anaerobic respiration. Breathing is a part of the process of respiration during which an organism takes in the oxygen-rich air and gives out air rich in carbon dioxide. Respiration is the respiratory organ for the exchange of gases vary in different organisms. During inhalation, our lungs expand and then come back to the original state as the air moves out during exhalation. Increased physical activity enhances the rate of breathing. In animals like cow, buffalo, dog, and cat, the respiratory organ and the process of breathing are similar to those in humans. In earthworm, the exchange of gases occurs through the moist skin. In fish, it takes through gills and in insects through the trachea. In a plant, the root take in air present in the soil. Leaves have tiny pores called stomata, through which they exchange gases. The breakdown of glucose in the plant cell is similar to that in other living beings. So this is the end of the chapter. Hope you like the summary. And if you like the summary, please do share my videos with your friends and family. Thank you for watching the videos.